This chapter covers sari blouse, otherwise called as choli. The choli has three different variations: plain choli, cut choli, katori choli. Today we are going to see the 4-dart sari blouse block. Before going for the block drafting, we need to understand how to take the measurement and where to take the measurement. The measurements which we are going to take is in inches. Measurements which we need are, the first measurement is the length. To decide the length, it is up to the choli level. So, the choli can start from the high point shoulder, it ends at any level of the waistline. Now we are going to learn 4-dart sari blouse. We need the measurements of length. Length is 14 inches and the back shoulder slope 14 3/4 and front shoulder slope 14 3/4, bust round 34.5, waist round 28, sleeve length 8 inches and sleeve circumference is 12 inch. The shoulder is 15 inch. These are the measurements we are going to follow to make the draft. The measurements are in inches and we are going to make the fitted garment without the seam allowance. So, the block has no seam allowance but the ease allowance is there. We are going to produce the production pattern or the seam allowance pattern after making the basic pattern. Now, we should draw a perpendicular line for the center back. Mark 14 inches as length and 7.5 inch as shoulder. So, 0.1 is the length of the blouse and 0.2 is 1/4 of bust minus 1 inch. So, 8 6/8 minus 1 inch 7 6/8 and draw perpendicular line at 2 and then take a perpendicular line at 1 also, and this line is the center back line. Zero 3 is off shoulder, shoulder is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5 inch. 3 is square down to 4. To 5 is equal to bust by 4 minus plus half an inch. So, bust by 4 is 8 6/8 plus half an inch is 9.25. So, mark 9.25, this is 5. Five should be square down to waistline and mark 6. 1/7 is equal to waist 1/4 of waist plus 1 inch. Waist round is 28 inches, 1/4 is 7 plus 1 is 8 inches. Mark 7 and join 5 and 7. Now we should mark the neck. Neck measurement is 0 to 8, 1/12 of bust. 1/12 of bust minus 1/4 inch. 34.5 is the bust round. 1/12 of bust is around 3¼ minus 1/4 is 3, and then go up by, this point is 8, 8 to 9 is 3/4 inches. Mark 9 and draw the neck shape from 0 to 9. This is the back neck, which give the closed neck. Now we should draw the shoulder slope. Shoulder slope should be marked from 1. This is the back shoulder slope plus 1/8 of an inch should reach the shoulder line. 14 3/4 plus 1 inch, 14 7/8, and this should be marked diagonally, and this is 10. Now we should join the shoulder from 9 to 10. And draw the back armhole from 10 to 5. Now you should draw the back armhole by 3/8 of an inch flat at the armpit. And we should mark the middle of it, middle of 10 to 4. And mark the across back measurement. Is 7¼ . This line is across back line. Now 2 to 4, find the measurement of 2 to 4 and mark the mid of it. 7½, mid is 3 6/8 and mark 11. Square down 11 to 12. And mark the dot allowance of 1 inch must be marked half of an inch on both sides, and mark 14, 15. 13 is 1 inch down from 11. And draw the dot from 13 14 and 13 15. Now we should mark the armhole, the mid of this is 16 and 16 is squared to 17 and 17 to 18 is across back measurement 7 1/4. And draw the armhole. Ten 18 and 18 5. 10, 18 and 5 is the back armhole. Then if you wanted to have the opening at the front, the center back should be on fold and mark the folding mark, and the grain line should be parallel to the center back line. And we can cut one piece. We should write the detail as the name of the part is back, the size US 8 and cut number 1 for the back. So this is the ready pattern which is not included with the allowances. If you wanted to take the production pattern, we should again trace this with the seam allowance at the neckline, shoulder line, armhole, side seam and waistline. Now we are going to make the front draft. The measurements which you need apart from the back, we need a bust span and bust height and the across front measurement. Bust span is 7.5 inch, bust height is 9 inches and the across front is 6.5 inch. So make the perpendicular line, the length should be 14 and add 3/4 of an inch. So mark 0, 1 is length plus 3/4 of an inch. Then 0A is equal to length and 0, 2 is equal to bust, 1/4 of the bust minus 1 inch. So 8, 6 by 8 minus 1 inch is 7, 6 by 8 and draw the perpendicular line at 2 and the bottom line should also be perpendicular and draw all the basic lines. 0.3 is of shoulder, shoulder is 15, off is 7.5, mark 3 and draw perpendicular line or square down 3 to 4. And 2 to 5 is equal to bust by 4 plus 3/4 of an inch is 9.5, mark 9.5 an inch and square down to 6. and the 1 to 7 is equal to 1/4 of the waist plus 1.5 inch plus quarter inch. So, 1 3/4 inches we should allow. 1/4 of the waist is 7 inches plus 1 3/4 inches is around 8.25 inch. Mark 7 and join 5 and 7. Then we are going to draw the neckline. Neckline is 1/12 of bust minus quarter inch. And the neck depth is 1/12 of bust plus quarter inch. So, it is 3.5 inch, and draw the neck from 8 to 9. Now, 8 to 10 is equal to shoulder slope plus 1/8 of an inch. Shoulder slope is 14 3/4 plus 1/8 is 14 7/8, and it should intersect the the line which is squared on from 3, that is 10, and then join 10 and 8 as the shoulder line. Eleven is mid of 10 to 4, measure 10 to 4, it is 6 3/4 and 3 3/8 is 11, and draw line from 11 and square to center front, it is 12. Then from 12 to 13 is across front measurement, it is 6.5 inch. And draw the front armhole from 10, 13 and 5. Now, we should mark the bust point. Bust point, we need the measurement of bust span, the distance between the bust point to bust point, and the bust height from shoulder tip to the bust point. First, draw a parallel line with half of the bust span. Bust span is 7.5 inch, half of the bust span in 3 3/4 plus quarter inch should be added, and mark a point for 4 inches and draw a parallel line. This is the bust span level. Now, we should mark the bust height plus 1/8 of an inch to mark the bust point. So, 10 to bust point is bust height plus 1/8 of an inch should intersect the parallel line which is been for the center front as the bust span measurement. Now, mark 1 inch below the bust point as 15, and this bust point should be squared to 14, square down to 14, and mark 1 3 by 4 inches, 3 by 4 inches on both sides, 3 by 4 inches on both sides, and join the dot. We marked 3 by 4 on both sides, and we joined the dot 15, 16 and 15, 17 as waistline dot. This is the 4 dot saree blouse. We should design 3 more dots. One should be on the center front, others should be on the armhole, other is on the side seam. So first decide the position. First the center front dot can be on the bust level, and draw a line from bust point to the center front, and mark the intersection point of the shoulder line and the armhole line, and connect this also to the bust point. And then you may take around 3 to 4 inches above from the waistline. That can be decided by you as per the wish. Should start from here and then join to the bust point. So the position of the dot is been decided. One is the center front dot on the bust level, one is the armhole dot on the intersection point, and other one is at the side seam for 4 inches, 3.5 inch to 4 inches from the bottom. Now we need to mark the allowances for the dot. The bust point can be 20, and the point which you are squaring out to the center front is 18, and mark 1.5 inch away from 20 as 19. Then here mark the same 1.5 inch away, it is 21, and this point is 22. The same thing, this intersection point is 24, and we are marking 1.5 inch away from this is 23. So we decided all the dot end points. Thus the center front dot is going to end over 19, armhole dot is going to end over as 23, and the side seam dot is going to end at 21. Now the dot intake has to be decided. For the center front dot, we should mark 1/4 inch width and 1/2 inch intake. So we need to mark 1/4 inch on both sides and connect the dot to 19. Now the armhole dot intake is 3/4 inch. So we should mark 3/8 and 3/8 on both sides and connect the dot to 23. And the side seam dot is also 3/4 inch. So mark 3/8 inch, 3/8 inch as the dot width and connect to 21 as dot. So we finish all 4 dots, center front dot, waistline dot, side seam dot and armhole dot to get a flat mount at the bust point. And after closing the side seam dot, the side seam of the back and the front will get matched. And after drafting this, we need to do the truing of all the dots, and the seam allowance has to be provided along with the seam lines. And we need to draw the grain line, center front, parallel to the center front, and this is the front part, and size 8, and front, if it is a front open, we should cut 2 pieces. That can be decided according to the open of the blouse. To develop the sleeve, we need sleeve length, sleeve round and the armhole. Sleeve length is 8 inches, sleeve round at the bottom of the sleeve is 12 inch, and the armhole we need to measure from the pattern of the front and back. So, we need to measure the back armhole from the shoulder tip and along with the back armhole, it is 7 3/4 inches. Then we need to measure the front armhole by keeping the tape erect. So, and also we should leave the dart. So, jump up from here and measure the measurements. It is 15.5 inch. So, this armhole and this armhole leaving of dart intake has to be measured. It is the armhole measurement is needed for the sleeve. Sleeve draft. We should draw the perpendicular line. And this is the center line. And the measurement from 0 is, and this point is 0, 0 to 1 is 8 inches, and mark 1. 0 2 is equal to 1/4 of armhole. Armhole is 15.5 inch. 1/4 of armhole is 3 4.5 by 8, and draw, square out the line. This is the bicep line, and draw a bottom line also. And 1/3 is equal to half armhole, should start from the crown point and should intersect on the bicep line with half armhole is 7 3/4 and mark 3. And 1 to 4 is half arm round. Arm round is 12 inches. Half arm round is 6, and join 3 and 4, and join 1 and 3, and divide this portion into 3 equal division, 4 equal division, and mark 5, 6, 7. 5 to 8 is 3/4 inch, and 6 to 9 is 3/8 inch, and 9 to 10 is half an inch towards down. All the measurements should mark perpendicular to this line. Now we need to draw the armhole from eight 0 0 8 9 and turn the armhole curve on the reverse side and start 9 from take a curve from 9 to 3, and this is for the back armhole. And front armhole, we should mark 3/8 of an inch at here is 11, and draw the front armhole from 0, 11, 6, 0, 11, 6, and then turn the French curve and connect 10, 3, 10 and 6. So, on the same sleeve, one side is going to be the back sleeve, other side is going to be the front sleeve. Will match for the front armhole and the back armhole, and the dotted line is for the front armhole and continuous line is for back armhole. You should cut on fold at the back and then open the front, open the sleeve and then cut the front armhole. The center should be on fold, then only when you are opening will get back as well as front in the same sleeve, but the armhole of the back and the front will get difference.
Start.
After finishing the front draft of the sari blouse, we need to true the dots. Then only the seam line will be corrected and the bust cup room will be proper. Now we are going to true the line. See, the dot leg towards the center front should be creased. Same as that, all the dot legs should be creased. At the middle leg and one towards the front and below. Now we need to fold the darts, fold in the middle, then fold in the first leg. Put push pins. And draw the curve. The dot leg should be creased by folding and closing the dot and stapler it. Now we close the dots. We have to true the seam line by keeping a French curve and blend the line. As the same, we need to do for all the dot legs. Here, after closing the dot, we may find the side seam has not been on a straight line. It has an up and down. We need to redraw a straight line to correct the side seam. Next, to the armhole dart. close the dart. Again redraw the armhole which should match with the body armhole. And same as that, on the center front also, we should close the dart. And redraw a straight line from 9 to 1. So now we drew the seam line. Then we need to cut on the straight line of center front. Neckline, then shoulder, armhole on the true curve, and the side seam. After removing the we can find that the armhole also extended and the bottom line is also extended, as the same the side is also extended. Now we are going to check the muslin fit and confirm whether the fit is fine or not. First, take the muslin fabric, double the width of the pattern including seam allowance, then fold in the center and do the pressing properly. Then place the carbon sheet on top of it, yellow carbon sheet on top of it, and then place the pattern which can match with the center line properly and do the pinning.
Start.
Now we should trace the ready line as well as the seam line onto the fabric. This is a tool called tracing wheel. We should use to pass and trace the line. So pass the wheel on top of the ready line. The ready line is the stitching line. Then pass the wheel on the outline of the pattern, which is the cutting line. While we are doing it, we should trace the dot leg also. Pass the wheel into the notches and trace the cutting line. Then the dot point to be traced. So the dot leg is being traced and the dot point is being traced. Now remove the pins and check the lines of waistline, side seam line, armhole line, shoulder line and the neckline with the stitching line and the cutting line is being traced, and the dot leg is being traced and the dot point is also traced along with the across back mark. To analyze the test fit of the saree blouse, we should make the test fit and confirm the fit. First, take the muslin fabric, double the width of the fabric along with the straight grain and iron the fabric neatly. Then place the pattern on top of it. Before that, we should place the carbon sheet to get the trace. Place the carbon sheet, then place the front on top of it and then fix the boat pin to avoid the slippage. Now we are tracing it from the front block pattern of a saree blouse, but the back is being traced along with the seam allowance pattern, which has the cutting line also, stitching line also. This tracing is happened with the saree blouse front with the block pattern, but the back is being done with the production pattern. We can also trace the outline of the stitching line. Then we can allow the seam allowance directly on the pattern. Now we are going to trace the outline by passing the tracing wheel along with the exact outline of the pattern. And we should mark the dot leg and the dot point also. And the bust point should also be marked. Trace the side seam line and the armhole line. And draw the dot leg, trace the dot leg and the dot point also. Then the across front notch. We traced all the outlines and the dot legs and the dot points and the bus point. Now remove the pins and remove the pattern. Remove this carbon sheet and find the mark is being done. We can directly allow the seam allowance onto the fabric by marking the seam allowance. The side seam allowance is 1 inch and shoulder is half an inch as the back. And waistline is half an inch. Neckline 3/8 of an inch. So the dot leg is being traced for center front dot, waistline dot, side seam dot and the armhole dot. All the points of the dot is also be traced and bust point should also be traced. We finished the tracing of front now. Now we are going to trace the sleeve. First take the muslin fabric, follow the grain line as a vertical grain and iron it properly and fold the fabric at the middle of it and place onto the table. Then place the carbon sheet on top of it and match the pattern along with the fold of the fabric and pin it to avoid the slippage. So we need to trace the back armhole separately and the front armhole separately, but on fold we are tracing the back and the front. The front will be cut by opening the pattern. Now trace the folding line and the cutting line. And trace the bottom line also. Now trace the back sleeve shape and the stitching line of the back. Then trace the front stitching line than the cutting line of the armhole. So we have made the back as well as front on a same sheet by taking this on a fold. Then it is easy to open and cut the front and back separately. The notches has to be traced for the back and for the front. and the side seam notch and the seam allowance will also be traced along with the notches. Then we can remove the pattern and the marker sheet and find the actual thing is been traced. This line is the stitching line, can be drawn later. Here the cutting line is there, this is the first fold and the second fold, and this is the side seam to stitch. Now we can start cutting. Now start cutting the fabric. See, we already drawn the outline of it with the tracing and cut on the outline, that is the cutting line. We finished the cutting of back. Likewise, we need to cut the front. If you wanted to take the complete test fit of the body, you can cut two front and the back is on fold, and then you can cut a sleeve also. So we finish cutting of all the back, front and sleeve. After doing the back sleeve cutting, you must cut the armhole for the front also. So in the sleeve, it has back armhole and front armhole. If we fold it, then we can see the difference of back and the front. So your sleeve should have the back at one side and front at one side. You should be careful to do the cutting like this. Then we are going to do the pinning of dots. At the back, we need to pin the waistline dot. Just close the dot leg, one which is towards the side should face towards the center dot, then only the dot intake will face towards the side seam. Now take pins and pin the dots as in stitched effect. The dot should be closed till the dot point. The same thing to be done at the other leg by facing the dot intake towards the side. Crease the dot and then pin it. Back dot is pinned. Now take the front, center front line and side seam allowance, all the allowance is there, and this is the bust point and all the dot end points because it has 4 dots. Close the dot crease the dot leg. As the same, the side leg should fall on the center leg to have the excess of fabric towards the side seam. And pin the dot. Waist dart is closed. Then the center front dart. As the same, the armhole dart. The dart intake should face towards down. Next, the side dart. Now, all three darts are closed. If you wanted to do the complete test fit, you can also do the other side of the front as the same. Then fold the center front line, crease it. Both the fronts are done. Then the sleeve, crease the sleeve hem, and close the side seam. The sleeve is ready. Now we need to assemble the front and back, and this is being the right side of it. Now place the right side to right side and crease the back shoulder and attach the shoulders. By matching the seam line. As the same, attach the side seam also. As the same, attach the other shoulder. We assemble the front and the back together. Now we are going to assemble the sleeve, that the front armhole should match along with the front armhole. Start from the underarm and 1/3 of an inch away from the center should match with the shoulder point. And the mid armhole notch and mid armhole notch should get match. Mid armhole back and mid armhole back should get match. And then start pinning the crown. The back armhole is assembled, then the front armhole. Little bit of a ease should be provided at the crown of the sleeve. Now the choli is assembled. So we finish the front and the back and the sleeve by attaching on the shoulder and the side seam after closing all the dots. Then the sleeve is to be attached along with the body. Then we can do the test fit by fitting it on the form and analyze what are the correction to be done. Now we are analyzing the test fit of the sari blouse with 4 dots. So the muslin fit, after pinning, it has to fit into the form by matching to the exact shoulder and the exact side seam at both the sides. Then the center front has to match with the center front. The neckline has to be half an inch or 3/8 of an inch should below from the actual neckline, and the neck should be a closed neck at the back as well as at the front, and center back fold or center back line has to stay on the center back line, and it has to match with the bust points, and the dot will provide the room for the bust. We must check the across front. There should be little bit of a ease, but it should not pull or push from any side. And side seam will have the ease. And the armhole will be 3 by 4 inches down from the armhole plate, and the armhole is exactly on the armhole round, and it will have little ease at the across front. After assembling the sleeve, we can see the fullness is being distributed and the fit is proper, and there is no bowing. There is no bowing. It has the clean fit at the across back also, at the waistline also, and waist has a 1/4 inch ease. That will be adjusted by giving a extra loops on the waistline to fit with the adjustments. Adjustment loops can be given on the front. So it provides a very close fit at the neckline, easy to attach the mandarin collar, and the sleeve is been very comfortable, and the bust room will be fit for the actual form, and it has the ease and the comfort to move. If you wanted to do any alteration or variations into the garment, if you want to bring any styling of wearing the neckline or wearing the sleeve and princess line, after testing the fit properly and take the block pattern, then develop the styling based on the block. You must write all the details like center front, center back, grain line and patterns. Every detail has to be written in this.